So one of the most accomplished perfumers of our time is Alberto Morillas. He has done fragrances for Giorgio Armani, for so many designer brands, Bulgari, the list goes on and on. Well, in any case, in today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at a fragrance by his own brand, Mizensir. This one is called Ambre Magique. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Ambre Magique by Mizensir, which is a brand new 2022 release and a really unique amber-based fragrance, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon, and of course, give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. Now, I've had the pleasure of meeting Alberto Morillas at a Fragrance Foundations Award, and there was an event that took place a few years ago. He was outside and I approached him, told him I'm a big fan, and he happened to be wearing Gucci Guilty Absolute, smelled amazing on him, and I'm just familiar with so many of his olfactive creations. He is a master at what he does, and of course here he has his own brand. Now, this fragrance just came out in 2022, Ambre Magique, and it's cardamom, bourbon, vanilla, Bulgarian rose if I'm remembering correctly, a little bit of orange in the opening. So it's spicy, it's warm, it's ambery, it goes in a few different directions. It's a complex amber that has some really addictive elements to it. I'm so excited to give you my breakdown of the smell and what I get from it in its totality. But let's take a quick look at the presentation. So this fragrance opens with a really rich amber accord, and the richness of the amber is quite beautifully done, and it's complemented so well by the cardamom that's in here. Now, when you think of amber, you have to think of a few different elements, right? Because there's really no such thing as an amber note. It's all an accord. Fossilized amber doesn't exist anymore. So basically you're going to get bourbon, vanilla, and then you'll get some resins in here. There might be some labdanum, might be some benzoin, and so I'm kind of getting that really rich and sacred amber accord from this fragrance that also comes across smelling very exotic, and I personally love that. Now, that exotic quality I think is accented by the cardamom that's in here, the cardamom, the rose, and there's a really nice amount of sweetness to it, which I personally love, and that of course is coming from the vanilla. So it's a very rich amber as opposed to like a plain amber, and there's a lot of synthetic amber ingredients on the market. This one conveys that sense of complexity about it, which I personally love. I think it's very warm, rich, ambery. I love that quality about it, but the cardamom in here is the perfect complement to the amber. So it opens up really exotic, rich, and quite abundant in terms of the ingredients that are in here. And the cardamom is perhaps a little bit stronger than the rose, that sort of Bulgarian rose ingredient that's in here. But the one compliment that I have to pay, in addition to all of the compliments I've already paid to the fragrance, is that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how natural the ingredients smell. So the cardamom that's in here is very photorealistic. The rose that's in here is very organic and true to form. And this is something that I've noticed about all of Alberto Morillas' creations for this brand, right? Of course, when he's making fragrances for Gucci or Bulgari or some of these other brands, you know, maybe there's a different budget that is being played around with. With these fragrances here, the quality is there, the natural component is there, and I love the richness of the amber, and I also love the fact that it's kind of on the sweet side of things too. And interestingly enough, I know it's not in the note breakdown, but I almost got like a praline vibe from it. And so if you're familiar with fragrances like Black Excess by Paco Rabanne, Tabac Rose by BDK Parfum, kind of has like that sweet vanillic praline quality about it that I also found in this fragrance, and that makes me truly love this one. So there's a bit of that citrusy freshness in the opening, that duality between the cardamom and the rose, both of which add to not only the exotic appeal, but the sensuality of the fragrance, and it dries down to that sweet yet exotic amber accord. I love this fragrance, and I love every chapter of its evolution. There are a lot of times when fragrances out there smell amazing in the opening, and then an hour later, it's like, I'm bored of it, right? And there are some times when a fragrance might be a little bit challenging in the opening, but as it starts to dry down, you're like, okay, this is great now, right? Like it warmed up on the skin. This is one of those examples of fragrances that I love from start to heart to finish. And so very well done. I didn't expect anything less from master perfumer Alberto Morillas. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, I took a look at the uniqueness and the overall smell, and this is rather a unique fragrance. When we're talking about amber fragrances, sometimes they can be medicinal, sometimes they can be sweet, sometimes they can be smoky. What I love about this fragrance is there's that introduction of a sensual quality and an exotic quality on account of that duality between the cardamom and the rose. Very well done. And the sweetness also makes this fragrance accessible. And so I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. It smells very rich, very opulent, very expensive. If I were to redo my top 10 most opulent fragrances list, this would be in the top 2 or the top 3. And that's saying a lot about the fragrance, right? It just kind of conveys that sense of regality and opulence. In terms of the longevity, 10 plus hours on my skin. Projection was amazing for the first 2 hours of application, and then it started to sit closer to the skin at about that 7-hour mark. So incredible performance from start to finish. Versatility is great. I would probably wear this one in every season except for the summer, unless you're wearing it in a climate controlled environment. In that case, you can wear it all year round. I think this one is more of a formal occasion fragrance just because of how rich, opulent, and expensive it smells. So I probably wouldn't wear it casually unless you have the money like that. And I think it's perfectly unisex. It will appeal to somebody who's a little bit younger because of the sweetness. It will appeal to somebody who's a little bit older because of the spices, the complexity, and that sort of exotic quality that it possesses. And then last up, we have the presentation. Absolutely gorgeous, from the gold hardware, the white bottle, the sleeve, everything about it. My final verdict on this fragrance is it's one of the best amber fragrances that I've ever smelled. And I've smelled a lot of ambers. Amber Absolute by Christophe Laudermiel, Tom Ford is one of my favorites. There's so many other ambers on the market, and this, I have to say, is one of my favorites of all time. Exceptionally well done. Such a breath of fresh air for a 2022 release. I'm excited to see what else this brand has to offer, and I've tried much of what this brand has to offer, but I've been a little bit out of the loop in the past year or so, especially, you know, on account of the pandemic and whatnot. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Please, please, please sample this fragrance if you find the opportunity to do so. I think it's amazing. Love you all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.